So I filmed a fair bit of this video. Then my SD card got full, so I took my SD card out, put it in my computer, deleted some things that I didn't need, went to open the file that I'd just been filming, and I couldn't open it. It's not there. It's not working. Like, so let's start again. Hey guys, this is Eliza and welcome back to a new video. So firstly, I just want to address the lighting. My ring light died. So we're dealing with the LED that I've got above me and the natural lighting outside. So in this video, I'll be wrapping up the month of September as well as the Magical Readathon. I'm just gonna go through the books in order have I read them, and then if I read them for Magical Readathon, I will tell you what challenge I read them for. So the first book I finished in the month of September was Miss Perival and the Dragon Prince. Had a mind blank then. That one is the sequel to Miss Perival and the Blue Fire Crystal by Dash Hoffman, and I read that one last month. Absolutely loved it. Well, it is currently October now, so I read it 2 months ago. I read it in August. I absolutely loved it, and if you don't know what this book is about, if you have not seen this cover, have not read the synopsis, please do it. Basically, this one is about a 70-something-year-old grandma who gets to be the chosen one of this story. Which, first off, why are more grandmothers not chosen one or in adventures and stuff? I need this. I need more of this. I absolutely loved this so much. So this grandma goes on an adventure with her 6 cats and her butler, and it's just incredible. Absolutely loved it. It does read like a middle grade. Gonna say that now. The author Dash Hoffman usually writes middle grades, so it makes sense. But it does read like a middle grade, so don't expect to go into it and it read like an adult book, even though it's about an adult. It definitely does read as a middle grade. But it's just super fun, super adventure packed. I love Miss Perival, she is so cute. Yeah, we definitely need more grandmas. So if you have any recommendations of books where grandmas go on adventures, please comment down below, because I need to know those books. The next book I finished was 6 Crimson Cranes by Elizabeth Lim, and this one was a little underwhelming to me. And honestly, like, I've gone on to Goodreads and Storygraph now and read reviews from other people that have read this, and it seems to be a fairly unanimous thing that this was not the best that it could be. It was still pretty good. I enjoyed the plot. I was interested enough to finish it. I didn't DNF it, obviously, but the characters just felt super flat to me. There was only like 2 characters that really had enough depth, and they weren't even the main character, and especially the brothers. So if you haven't read the synopsis for this, basically our main character, if my tripod moves, it's because my cat is currently rubbing against it. Basically, our main character finds out a secret about her stepmother and gets cursed. Wait, is that in the synopsis? Yes, okay. So the stepmother banishes her away from the castle. She is the princess, by the way. They banish her, and her 6 brothers get turned into cranes. And it's basically the main character trying to save her brothers, save herself, get back to the castle. But honest to God, I cannot tell you the difference between the 6 brothers. They were all the exact same personality, so flat, so bland. They were the exact same people. There was just 6 of them. Yeah, so definitely underwhelming for me. I ended up rating this one 3.5 stars. I do have Spin the Dawn on my TBR and I'm curious about it, but it might be one I pick up on audiobook. And so next I read a book that I do not remember a thing. As I just said, I did film the start of this video already. So I did read the synopsis just before and I kind of got like a little bit of a recap, but besides what was in the synopsis, I do not remember what the hell went down. So yeah, I rated it 4.5 stars. I enjoyed it at the time. Oh, I haven't even said what the name of it is. The Cerulean by Amy Ewing. I'm not sure how to pronounce the last name. But this one, or this one. I don't know where I'm putting it. One of these sides. But honestly, do not remember what went down. I don't remember a thing. I don't remember what I liked about it. I don't remember the characters' names. I don't remember the plot besides the fact that there's like a city in the sky and they power themselves off the energy of the thing below, and this chick's got to sacrifice herself so that way that the sky, the people in the sky above can move to a new city because they don't want to drain that one completely, you know. That's all I know, and that's the synopsis. That is it. So yeah, I don't have any thoughts on this one because I literally don't remember a thing about it. You know, some books that just like do not leave an impact whatsoever and are so forgettable. Like, Six of Crows is like that for me. Honestly, I do not remember what happened in Six of Crows. I know it's a heist. That's it. I don't remember anything else. And this book is just like that. I don't remember a thing. So I'm sorry. I don't have anything to say for this one. We'll just move on to the next book. So next we have the book that is probably, I think it is, the best book I read. Yeah, it's the best book I read in September. And that is This Vicious Cure by Emily Suvada, which is the third book in the This Mortal Coil series. And I'm sad that it's finally over. Like, this is the trilogy, this is the last book in the series. I'm sad that it's over because I absolutely love this series. I adore it so much. But also, I'm glad that I finally picked this one up and read it because I've been putting this one off because I didn't want the series to end. But I finally read it. It was definitely worth it. I rated this one 5 stars. If you don't know, This Mortal Coil is a YA dystopian. Basically, this disease is spreading. There's people that have gone into hiding underground, and it follows this girl who is the daughter of a, whatever it's called. He's trying to create the cure for this, and something happens to him and she has to help. This one is chaotic. The series is just crazy. Everything that could go wrong goes wrong. It's one thing after another, and like, you'd think that would be overwhelming, but it's not. It was just amazing. There is a fair bit of discussion about like genes and tech and DNA and all that type of thing, but it was never overwhelming. Emily Suvada writes it really, really well, that it never feels like it's info dumping, but it's also explained and I'm not left confused. And it's explained in a way that I can understand. As someone who has no idea about any of that shit, it's explained in a way that I can understand. So that's really good. But yeah, definitely recommend picking this one up. The whole series is out now, so you can binge the whole thing. Glad I finally read this, but I'm also sad that it's over. So next I read Bewitch by Paige McKenzie and Nancy Olin. This is the first book in a YA mystery series, and honestly, this is the book I hated the most. We went from the book I loved the most to the book I hated the most. What did I rate this? I rated it 3 stars. Actually, no, there is one on here that's 2.5 stars, but this is the one that drives me the most insane. I'm still thinking about it. But basically, this one follows this girl who just started at a new school. She is a witch. Witches are not good in this community. They are targeted, they are killed. And at the school there is 2 covens, each of 3 other witches, and someone starts targeting them and another new girl at the school gets killed. Yeah, it's basically them trying to figure out this mystery, trying to save themselves, blah blah blah. But the thing that I didn't like about this book, and honestly this was a 4.5 stars up until like the last couple chapters. I will talk spoilery in a second, but first off I'll just say that the ending is purely what I disliked about this book. It was the most unsatisfying ending I've ever read in a book, and I hated it. Absolutely freaking hated it. So that's the reason this one got a 3 stars. But let me for a second talk spoilery. So if you don't want any spoilers for this book, come back when the cover is no longer on the screen. So the ending for this book, basically like we're leading up to the ending as most books do. And you know, this one of the girls gets kidnapped. She's in this house. They finally find this house. They arrive. The house is on freaking fire. One of the girls runs in to save her. She saves them, runs in, saves the cat, because witches, there's cats involved. Runs in, saves the cat, comes back out, and you're like, oh yeah, there's gonna be a battle or something. It's gonna be revealed on who it was. The bitch that kidnapped the girl originally, like the one who's like the bad guy in this situation, she walks out of the house, erases their memory, and they go about their lives. What? Literally everything they just learned, gone. Like they still know someone's targeting them, and like they got that bit of the memory back. But everything has just happened that day where they finally figured out what's going on. One of them gets kidnapped. They're, you know, it's all gone, and they just go back to school. To say I was pissed off is an understatement. I literally put the book down and I was like, what the fuck did I just read? Are you kidding me? Are you kidding me? I don't know if I'm gonna read the sequel, because I feel like the sequel will be them learning the same fucking thing over again. Ugh. Yeah, I'm laughing and smiling because it's fucking ridiculous, but I honestly hated it. I was so just pissed off when I read that part of the book. My rating went from a 4.5 and dropped to a 3 instantly. Oh my god, it was frustrating. But anyways, next book. So the next book I finished was Keeper of Lost Cities by Shannon Messenger, which is the first book in a middle grade series. And I had a lot of fun reading this one. I did listen to this one on audiobook. I did start the ebook of it, I think, and then I swapped to the audiobook. Was that what happened? Yeah, I'm pretty sure that's what happened. But I did rate this one 4 stars. It was super fun. Nothing too complex, but I did enjoy it. I had a good time reading it. I just realized I haven't said anything about Magical Readathon yet and which books I read for what. I'll talk about that at the end. So Keeper of the Lost Cities follows Sophie, who is just trying to fit in but has no way of doing so. She is actually a telepath and she's living with her human parents, and one day this bloke turns up and tells her that she's actually in the wrong place. She doesn't belong with these humans. And for some reason her memories have been locked. Something happened and she cannot remember a certain part of her life. And it's basically them trying to figure out why she was hidden among humans and why her memory has been wiped and what's so special about her. Why is she the key to everything here? So yeah, it had a kind of mystery element, definitely fantasy. Really enjoyed it. It was just super fun, easy read, and I'll probably be continuing the series. The next book I read was also a middle grade, and that is The Grandest Bookshop in the World by Amelia Mellor. This one definitely gives me Mr. Lemoncello's library vibes. Obviously this one's in a bookshop, that one's in a library, but it's very similar vibes. Basically in this one, her father owns this bookshop and he makes a deal with the wrong person, and her and her brother are trying to save him and the bookshop by completing certain tasks before the stroke of midnight. Super fun, definitely high stakes. It was a little bit thrilling at times, but I really enjoyed it, and another fun one. And also this cover is just stunning. That's what drew me to it. I picked this one up from like Big W or Kmart because of the cover, and yeah, I really enjoyed it. Super fun. So if you're looking for a middle grade that it's just a quick, easy adventure, slightly fantastical, more like magical realism style fantastical than actual fantasy, but if that's what you're after, definitely check it out. It is also historical fiction because it is based in 1893. So also historical fiction. So that was a cool combination. I don't think I've actually read any middle grades that are historical. So that was interesting. And I rated that one 4.5 stars. So next I read The Edge of Forever by Melissa E. Hurst. I needed a book that featured time travel for Bookopoly Readathon, and I googled time travel books. Majority of them are freaking romances, which, if you know me, you know I don't particularly like romances. This one did end up having like a slight romance in it, but like at least it wasn't the whole plot. Anyways, I was searching time travel books. Most of them I'd either read or they were romances, and I finally found this one. I bought it on ebook and it wasn't too bad. Like I rated it 3.5 stars. So wasn't amazing. And one of the main things I was very confused about in this book was a certain romance. This romance had a reason, like there was a plot point to it, but if I'm following it correctly, she lives with her grandmother, no, her aunt, sorry, woo, okay, she lives with her aunt. So from basically what I can tell, her aunt's husband, who's passed away, his sister has 2 kids, a girl and a boy. The boy hits on the main character. So like, married by, related by marriage, but still related. Yep, not going there. But anyways, that was in the book, so that was one of the things I was like, wait a second, that doesn't make any sense. You could have made it a character that she isn't related to. Like, what purpose did that serve? None. It served none. It could have just been a random guy. Small town, like, what? Why did it have to be like her cousin-in-law or whatever the fuck it is? I don't know. Yeah, it was basically, my main issue was that with this book, and the reason that it didn't get a higher rating is just that it was confusing. It was a little bit slow at times. The pacing actually was kind of all over the place. Like it was like really fast and then really slow, and it was like all over the place. And yeah, it was confusing at times and kind of hard to follow. But I did kind of enjoy it, and I do plan to read the second book. I have purchased the ebook for it, so I do plan to read the second one, but wasn't amazing. So the next book that I read was an audiobook, and that was The Girl from the Well by Rincha Pecco. And this one, I was confused. I was bored. I get the idea, but it just wasn't for me. I ended up rating it 2.5 stars. This was the one that I rated low. But yeah, I was just bored. Like, I probably would have DNF'd it if it wasn't an audiobook, but I just like kept listening to the audiobook, especially because I was doing it for a challenge. And I feel like I tend to push myself a little bit more when I'm in a readathon and I'm reading a certain book for a challenge, because otherwise I'm gonna have to go find another book that fits that challenge. Yeah, I probably would have DNF'd it if it hadn't been for the fact that I was listening to it during a readathon and on audiobook. So the girl from the well, basically, she is like a ghost or a spirit, whatever it's called. And she takes the lives of people who have assaulted young women. Love that for her. That's great. But then she meets this young boy called Tark, and he has like a malevolent spirit living with him, in him, whatever. She's trying to help, but also just hanging around. So yeah, it was very bland. Like, I get the idea of it and everything. Like, I like the idea that, you know, she's taking people because they did wrong. I get the idea of it, but I just was kind of bored and it was a little bit flat for me. So next I read Timekeeper by Tara Sim. This one I listened to on audiobook as well, and this one was quite good. I rated it 3.5 stars. It didn't blow me away, but it was interesting. The romance was not my favorite. It was very predictable and insta-love. Very insta-love. Basically, this one follows this bloke who is a timekeeper. He looks after clocks, and he ends up meeting a clock spirit while doing his job at a specific clock. So basically every clock has a clock spirit, and a friend of his fell in love with a clock spirit and was basically ousted and was very frowned upon. You can't do that, you can't mess with the clocks. And then something happened to that clock which ended up trapping our main character's father in the town where the clock belongs. So basically if the clocks are playing up, time stops, or slows down, or jumps, or weird things, and that's why the timekeepers have got to look after the clocks. Like I said, the plot was interesting. I like the idea of the timekeepers and that whole thing, but the whole time I was just like, for fuck's sake, you were doing exactly the thing that you have been telling yourself you can never do because it will ruin everything, and now you're doing it. What the fuck? I hate people like, I hate characters like that. I hate people like that too. But like, I hate characters like that. We're like, oh, I can't do this thing. It's forbidden. It'll cause all this damage. People will get hurt or people will suffer from it. And then they go and fucking do it. Like, bitch, you are selfish. Like, fucking hell. Anyways, so yeah. That was the main thing I didn't like about that book. Like, it was, the romance, did not like that. Insta-love, very predictable. But also that aspect of it, that the character was doing everything they could to fuck everything up. And it's like, you wonder why shit's going wrong. Okay, so next I actually read a graphic novel, and that was Shattered Warrior by Sharon Shin and Molly Knox Ostertag, if that's how you pronounce it. This one I honestly didn't know anything about, but I needed a book with blue on the cover. I think it was the challenge for Bookopoly, and I had started something else, but I really wasn't into it. I started an audiobook, was not into it. Towards the end of the month, I was just not into audiobooks. Like, I started, I think 3, I read like half an hour of them, and I'm like, nah. I couldn't get into anything. So I haven't put any of them on this list. I'm not saying I DNF'd them because it wasn't the books file, it's just I'm not in the mood for audiobooks right now. Yeah, so I found this graphic novel because I thought it would be perfect, and it had a blue cover, and I was actually like surprised because honestly I didn't know nothing about it. I've never heard anyone talk about it, but I ended up giving it 4.5 stars. And basically it follows this girl. There's been alien invasion type thing, and this group of people is now running everything, and all the humans are made to be slaves, and they're abused, and you know, that type of thing. And she's working at this factory, and she decides that she wants to start rebelling. So it was like kind of empowering. It was really fun, definitely a little bit dark at times, but yeah, really enjoyed it. And it's on Scribd, so recommend checking it out. On to the last 2 books. So second lastly, I read Red Hood by Eleanor K. Arnold, and honestly, I don't know what to think about this book. I was not a fan of the writing style from the very beginning. I found it hard to follow. I don't know what the point of view is called, like first person, second person, you know, that type of thing. I don't know which one's which. But this one, the majority of the book is in, you did this, you did that. And it was like, a little bit disorientating at the start, especially because first chapter, the sex scene, it's like, you did this, and it's like, I did what now? No, I didn't. Yeah, so that was a little bit disorientating. Also, was not expecting a sex scene in the first chapter, as someone who doesn't read romances, and thought this was a Red Riding Hood retelling, which it is. But Red Riding Hood retelling, I was not expecting a sex scene in the first chapter. So if that's what you like it was probably actually one of the better written scenes Some of them I'm just like, this is cringy. Like, especially the word shaft. There's something about the word shaft that I cannot deal with anymore after reading a specific sex scene. Some of them are cringy as fuck. I'm not into sex scenes, but if you're into that, they're decently written. Yeah, I was not expecting it. Like, I did not know anything about this. All I knew was there's a dark Red Riding Hood retelling, which is correct, but I was not expecting the rest of it. It's not necessarily romance, like she's in an established relationship, so it's not like romancy, but there is sex scenes in it. There's a lot of discussion about menstrual cycles because it plays a part in her ability that she has. So that was really interesting. Okay, so I might just read the synopsis rather than trying to give my own synopsis because what I was gonna say would reveal a lot more than is revealed in this. Since her grandmother became her caretaker when she was 4 years old, I still don't know how to pronounce her name, Bisu? I don't know, has lived a quiet life in a little house in Seattle. She keeps mostly to herself, she's been good, but then comes the night of homecoming when she finds herself running for her life over roots and between trees, a fury of claws and teeth behind her. A wolf attacks. Bisu fights back and a new moon rises, and with it questions about the blood in Bisu's past and her hands as she stumbles home, about broken boys and vicious wolves, about girls lost in the woods, frightened but not alone. Yeah, honestly, I don't know what I'm gonna rate this because I'm still like all over the place with it. I really enjoyed the very ending section where there was this kind of empowering moment at the school between the 3 girls and the rest of like the cohort. That was really cool. I really enjoyed that, but overall I was just like, the writing style was not for me. I couldn't get into the you did this, you did that writing style. Couldn't get into that. There was one section where her grandmother is telling her side of the story and they use I did this, I did that. That section was fine. But besides that, it was fairly interesting. So like, I'd probably rate it like a 3.54, something like that. I don't know. It's like, it's a hard book to rate. If you've read this, let me know what you thought and let me know what your expectations was going into this and what you thought of it, because I had no idea. That was not what I was expecting. So the last book I read was a graphic novel, and this one's actually a graphic novel adaptation of a book, which I was not a fan of. I couldn't get into it. It was hard to follow. I didn't have any connection to anyone. But anyways, it is Kindred by Octavia E. Butler. And honestly, I think this book would have benefited a lot more from being a novel than the graphic novel version. The adaptation, like I suppose if you've already read the book and you read the adaptation, like yeah, it'll be okay. But nothing was explained. It was hard to follow. It jumps like straight fucking in. And at like first you're like, what the fuck is going on? And it's just impossible to follow. There's no context. There's no character development. Basically, they go back in time somehow. The main character, who is a trans black woman, she goes back to the time of slavery. So that was a little bit interesting. So yeah, that aspect of it was fine. Obviously, I said it would read a lot better as a book than it did as a graphic novel. It really didn't have an impact on me whatsoever. I was left bored, I was left confused, and I kind of just wanted it to fucking end. So I might pick up the actual book at some point, but the graphic novel, to me, it just didn't do that story justice. Like I said, if you've already read the book and you want to go into the graphic novel as like a recap, sure. But I feel like that's the same for a lot of adaptations. Like even the Lord of the Rings, well, not the Lord of the Rings, the Hobbit graphic novel, illustrated edition, it definitely misses a lot. So if you've read The Hobbit, or even watched the movies for The Hobbit, the graphic novel will be beneficial for you. But if you go in just reading the graphic novel, I don't think you'll get anything out of it. And I think that's the same for this one. So yeah, that was a little bit disappointing, but it fit a challenge for Magical ReadAthon, so that's why I read it. So now I'll quickly go over the books that I read specifically for Magical ReadAthon. So Kindred, the graphic novel that I just spoke about, that one I read for the Novice Path Entrance Challenge, which was to read a book with a map. This one has a map of, I think it's LA, right at the beginning. Six Crimson Cranes by Elizabeth Lim was for the Ashthorn Tree Challenge, which is to read a book that keeps tempting you. That one definitely fitted that challenge because as soon as I got that front thing from Fairy Loot, I'm like, I want to pick this up. Like every time I went to go pick up a book that I had to read for something else, I was like looking at it, I'm like, I want to pick it up. So that fit that challenge. Then The Grandest Bookshop in the World by Amelia Mellor. That one I read for the Mist of Solitude challenge, which was to read a standalone. Then we had Bewitch by Paige Mackenzie, which I read for the challenge Ruin of the Sky, which was to read a book featuring ghosts, haunted houses, or other supernatural elements. This one had witches in it, so I went with that. Then we had The Edge of Tomorrow by, The Edge of Forever by Melissa E. Hurst, which was for the Obsidian Falls challenge, which was to read a thriller or mystery book. This one fits into the mystery category. Then I read This Vicious Cure by Emily Suvada for Tower of Rumination challenge, which was to read a 5-star prediction and end up rating it 5 stars, so I predicted well. Then lastly for Magical Readathon was Keeper of the Lost Cities by Shannon Messenger, which I read for the Orilium Academy challenge, which was to read a book featuring a school setting, which this one featured like a kind of magical school setting. So that was cool. That was all the challenges for Magical Readathon, all the books that I read in the month of September. Sorry if this video was a little bit all over the place. I feel like I've been like backwards and forwards, and then like my SD card decided not to save that file and I had to start again. So I'm hoping all this footage is right and I don't have to film this again. And then the light died this morning, like what the fuck? Nothing is working. But anyways, that is it for this video. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Let me know what the best book was that you read in September. Of course, mine was This Vicious Cure by Emily Suvada. But let me know what yours was in the comments below, and I'll talk to you in my next video.